Welcome, welcome. We are back. It wouldn't be another week in the life of Newcastle United without an away days. What a week it's been. Okay, these weeks are getting crazier and crazier at the moment, being a Newcastle fan. We've had takeovers, we've had issues with Bruce. We've now had Bruce out. He is gone, finished, finito, out of there. And so what it really does bring is a brand new era. So we know that Graham Jones is going to be in charge on Saturday. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this team is put together and how this team performs. But as always, with away days, we want to hear the opposition's view. And when we hear the opposition view, we want to hear the best of the opposition fans. And today I have from at back of the nest, D. So welcome, D. How are you?
What's going on? I'm good. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. Both clubs starting a new little process. We started in summer. You guys started last week.
Oh, definitely. And, I want to start with that from a Palace point of view. You guys have had Patrick Vieira now installed since the summer. Wasn't really sort of, a popular appointment. There were some question marks out there from him from that point of view. What kind of stamp has he made on your team, and what are your opinions of him so far?
Look, when Patrick Vieira came to this Palace side, he wasn't our first choice. He was one of the last options on the list. We tried it with Nuno. We tried it with Fonseca as well, that you guys are linked with. We tried it with all types of managers, and it just didn't work out. And it just came to Patrick Vieira. And you know what? I was excited by it. And the reason for this is that no one really knows what to expect from Vieira. He hasn't really been given an opportunity in the Premier League. Of course, he was a great Premier League legend, but he went to New York, went to Nice, took over Favre, and he actually done better than him when he actually took over him at that time in that season. So I was excited by it because I want a manager that we can grow with. And so far this season, look, if we were talking last season, I would not be this happy. We've only won one game, but the process, what we're trying to do on the pitch, finally, my Palace is back after 3 years. It was, look, with all due respect to Roy Hodgson, he did keep us up. But towards the last 2 seasons, it just got so repetitive and so boring. It's like the same players week in, week out, same tactics, even though it wasn't working. We needed a new change. It might have not worked out with Vieira, and it's still early days. I know he's done good with performances, but it's just something different. And you saw it on Monday night as well. We actually want to go into games to win games regardless of who you are. And we haven't had that for a long time.
No, it's a great point, and hold that Roy Hodgson point, because I'm going to come back to that later on. I will come back to it at some point, but you know what? The point that you touched on about the process, I like that. I like that you can see a process with the manager. Even though you've not, won loads and loads of games, you're not sitting high up in the table. You can see what's being built, because you know what? As Newcastle fans and the guys that are in the chat at the moment, they will agree that that's what we want. That's what we want from our club. We want to be able to see a process now. We want to be able to see that we're showing that ambition and we're going in the right direction and we're building something. So, it's nice to see from your point of view as a Palace fan that you can see that process starting to kick in for sure. But look, it wouldn't be right if we didn't get on to the talk in and around Newcastle United. We're the hot topic at the moment. Everybody wants to talk Newcastle. You're seeing it on Sky, BBC Radio, 5 Live, Talk Sport. It's everywhere, splashed over the papers. Newcastle are officially the richest club in the world. As a Palace fan, how is that kind of sunk in and around sort of the Palace contingent with regards to us being taken over by the PIF consortium?
Well, I think it's split into 3 different sections, or maybe 2. So one, of course, doesn't really care because they just love Palace for the sake of loving Palace, so they don't really look around the league. There's another which, for reasons, what's happened with the ownership, the Saudi Arabia side of things, political side of things. There's some that care about that, saying that it wasn't ethically right, which is controversial. And then, of course, there's some who are willing to accept the challenge because, you know, at Newcastle, for the last 14 years, as you said on our channel as well with our preview, it's been the same old thing. And in all honesty, Pete, I'm not going to hide it. I was getting bored of it. I was just saying, you know, like, I don't have any problem with Newcastle, but literally every single year when you hear about Mike Ashley, it's like, let's open a new chapter. We've been talking about this guy like since I was a little kid. It's like, when is it going to end? And finally, it's ended. So I'm happy for you guys, and hopefully it does work out, because I do understand the situation that you were in, and I don't want anyone to get me wrong about the comment that I just said about the Mike Ashley repetitiveness, but it was, as a neutral, just looking at Newcastle, it's just same thing. It's like, when was it going to change? And it's finally happened. And let's just see how it goes, because I don't think, look, you can have all the money in the world. I'll say this. You can have all the money in the world, but it does not guarantee you success. It's about how they can run the club. So there's still big question marks. I feel like they will run it in a way that's appropriate. I don't think you're going to go and splash, you know, £200 million on 2 players. I think you'll spend £100 million on like a good squad rather than 2 world-class players, which is the right thing to do. So I am excited by it. And in all honesty, it's going to be interesting to see how the top 6 clubs respond, because I feel like they're the ones that are most worried about it, because they've been too comfortable where they are right now, and there's a new boy in town.
You are damn right. There is a new boy in town, but it's a great point, and you're not the only sort of neutrals, opposition fans, to kind of see the boring side of it. And look, as Newcastle fans, we were bored of it as well, but we were kind of like in purgatory. We didn't know whether we were going to go up, whether we were going to go down, whether we were going to survive as a club or not, because we just didn't know. Mike Ashley didn't communicate anything with us, so we're just glad, as much as you guys on the outside, that it's all done and dusted, and we now are in a position to move on. But it's a great point, because, you know, we can have all this money, but it's how we spend it. And this is where we're looking to the consortium, the ownership now, the chairman and beyond, to kind of, you know, construct it and start putting it together. But, you know, it's going to be a difficult thing. But look, there's before we move on, I have to go to the chat, because these guys in the chat always throw up some really, really good questions. So I'll work from downwards up. So we've got Gary Milligan, evening Pete, evening pal, Ace D. What does D prefer, Pardew as a player or manager?
To be fair, look, the only history, I'm not that old. I haven't watched Pardew as a player. But the only thing that I know about Pardew is his goal that he scored in the FA Cup semi-final. And then when it comes to it, Pardew as a manager, he brought us to the FA Cup final. The Pardew thing is very weird, because we were on top form into a certain point. He was making us play some fantastic football, getting the best out of the players. We went to a cup final as well. But it just, like, his time at Palace, it was long overdue that he had to leave, and he was just staying there, and it made it a bit sour. But, you know, if he didn't do that dance in the final, right now, we might have had a cup in our trophy cabinet. But it happened. It got jinxed in the FA Cup final against United. But I liked what Pardew tried to do. He had a character. When he came in, he seemed like he got along well with the players as well, but it was just towards the end where things got a bit sour. So I prefer Pardew as a manager. I managed to go to Wembley to watch my team play in the cup final. Yes, we didn't win, and yes, it still haunts me to this day, but he managed to bring us there, which I haven't personally experienced. We haven't been to FA Cup final basically in my whole life. So yeah, he managed to do that, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, you know, you can't argue that. He's giving you the opportunity to sit at Wembley in a cup final. You know, hopefully those days are ahead for us. But I think Simon Wells has asked a question on behalf of all Newcastle fans. Would you take Gale back?
Nah, we're talking about real throwbacks here. Gale, we had Gale there already. Maybe you guys can tell us, because there was actually one Palace fan, I think about a month ago, when we were talking about transfers and we were talking about players, and he was saying how he wouldn't mind Dwight Gale back at the club. But Dwight Gale, for us, when he came off the bench, he scored goals, but he was never really Premier League caliber. When he went down to the Championship, he's banging in all types of goals. But when it's in the Premier League, it just doesn't cut it for him. And I haven't watched him as much at Newcastle. So you tell me, Pete, how is Dwight Gale in the Premier League for you guys? He doesn't really play, but what is it? What is it that he can't make it in the Premier League, but he's so good in the Championship?
You know what? It's a great question. I think it's a question we've been asking ourselves as Newcastle fans for quite a few years now. Is that he, we had him in that one season in the Championship and he tore it apart. The only thing that stopped him from breaking the goal scoring record in the Championship, in my opinion, was the fact that he got injured around January time. He did his hamstring. He was out for 4 to 6 weeks, and he never really recovered after that. However, the Championship's a different kettle of fish to the Premier League. The Premier League, you're playing against elite defenders, and you have to adapt. You have to change your style, and I just think that Dwight Gale has not been able to adapt himself to the Premier League to make himself effective. I think how he's got on at Newcastle was the same as how he got on at Crystal Palace, in that he then just became a bit of a bit part player, a bit of an impact player. He might go on a run of 2 or 3 games where he'll nick a couple of goals, but other than that, he's not the consistent guy that you want in the Premier League. It's a little bit like for us, we're seeing it right now with Alexander Mitrovic. We obviously signed Mitrovic, and he was meant to be our main man striker, and he just didn't really hit the heights. And then he went on loan to Fulham and tore it up in the Championship. Then he went down with them and tore it up again. And now this season, so it looks like this guy's on 20 goals already this season. He seems to be bagging every week. It's like,
but the Championship ain't easy as well. That's what I don't understand. It's not like the Championship is like an easy league. Championship is very difficult. Like to get out the Championship, there's some top opponents there. It's a very physical league. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something in the Championship that of course, it's not as hard as the Premier League, but trust me, the Championship with some of the European leagues out there, the Championship can be up there, like in terms of competitiveness. Especially, for example, I'm Turkish, and the Turkish league, I've said it already. Like these teams going to Champions League and Europa League, but when it comes to it in the Premier League, there'll be relegation candidates or even in Championship quality. So the Championship ain't easy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, the level of quality has gone up in the last few years, but I just think the Premier League is elite, and if you want to be a regular goal scorer, you've got to have something about you, and it just hasn't clicked. Whether it's confidence, whether it's not being confident in his ability, whether he needs just a run of games, I don't know, but he's had plenty of opportunities at his time at Newcastle. Maybe not recently under Bruce, but he's had his opportunities to prove he could play at that level. But there's always been something about him that I thought, no, just not that Premier League level. You're always looking for another player to perform at that level. But Geordie Toon for Life says, where will Palace finish this season?
So it depends on whether we continue considering last second goals or not. As we spoke about earlier, Pete, when we was recording our preview, I said it, like right now, I think Palace will be 3 points off the top 4. If it wasn't for the late goal conceded against Arsenal, 95th minute goal conceded against Arsenal, and 95th minute goal conceded against Brighton, in which both of those games, I feel like we deserve to win. So it was unfortunate. So right now, I don't think we have any expectations. I think top half would be good under Patrick Vieira. We weren't really too sure how we was going to set up, but Vieira wants us to win every game. And the type of football that we're playing, the type of players that we got, we're disappointed. You saw how Arsenal celebrated that game, the goalkeeper running all the way across the pitch. We were on the ground. We were very upset of taking a point away from home at the Emirates. So it shows the mentality of the club. So we're aiming high, but we're not aiming top 4, top 6. I'm not that deluded. I think top half would be good. Something like that would be solid. We've had some solid performances. The only teams that we've lost against so far this season is Chelsea, which was the first game of the season, and Patrick Vieira seemed a bit nervous with his tactics. And also against Liverpool, which Jurgen Klopp said that it was his hardest 3-0 defeat ever, which is telling as well. So the sky's the limit for us. It all depends on us. Can we hold leads? Can we take leads? And we're good with comebacks, but we need to make sure we're on the front foot. And as long as we can, do both of those things combined, I think top half could be realistic. But of course, it's a long season, so it depends on whether we get any injuries as well.
Yeah. Definitely, and I think one of the things I've noticed with your team is that, and we talked about it earlier, is that what you've done, you've transitioned a lot of the older boys out, the likes of Gary Cahill, Scott Dans, and one or two others that were kind of past their sell-by date, really. Mamadou Sakho, for example, is another one, and you've transitioned those guys out, and who you've brought in, okay, a lot more younger, hungrier players. So what comes with that is the less likely for injuries. But I would agree. I would think if you can keep your players fit, there's a chance that you can have a really good season. I personally don't think you'll be around the relegation mark this season, just because the way in which he set you up. But you've made a good point. It is a long season and things do change. But look, just going on to that point, right, you guys have made a number of signings in the window. I'll just whack a couple of them up and then just talk to me about them. So this guy right here, who is he?
Mark Guay. Mark Guay, he's a special talent, I'll tell you that. We signed him from Chelsea, highly rated. I believe he was on Swansea on loan last season. Very strong, loves a tackle, good on the ball. He can run with it, can swing out a pass. And I think he's one of the most underrated players for Palace so far this season. Of course, we're going to talk about other players like Conor Gallagher, which you'll probably put up on the screen in just a second. But Mark Guay is just exceptional in defense. The only thing is with our defense is that it's individual errors. So it's like we've set up a new backline basically with Joachim Andersen and Mark Guay. And Mark Guay just fitted in there, but it's like getting used to it. But he's a fantastic talent. And in years to come, I think he'll be in the England side. I really do think that, because he's that good.
I'm surprised Chelsea got rid of him, if I'm honest.
Exactly.
He's a talented boy, and he had a good season. I know full well because he had Freddie Woodman behind him, who's our goalkeeper for Swansea last year. So watching Freddie Woodman closely, he got an opportunity to look at Guay a little bit more, and he started the season well. But what about this man, Mr. Andersen?
Yes, Joachim Andersen from Denmark. We signed him from Lyon, but just to describe Joachim Andersen, you never hear loan players becoming your captain. When he went to Fulham last season on loan, he became the captain after 3 or 4 games, which shows the type of character he is. He's been, look, as we talked about Gary Cahill, we talked about Scott Dann, we talked about all these type of players. They will come in towards the end of their careers. And right now we need a new fresh people in the back line. We signed Mark Guay, we signed Joachim Andersen. Very good on the ball. He is the one that you need to pressure, because he will swing out a pass. Like, you just think he's on the ball, and then next thing you know, Wilfried Zaha's making a run in behind, and Joachim Andersen just finds him. He is that good. He's better than Mark Guay in terms of passes, and I think he's a solid defender as well. Both Mark Guay and Joachim Andersen, the recruitment there has been absolutely fantastic. Both of them are combined £30 million, and you're looking at clubs like Arsenal. We spent £50 million on Ben White, and two of our centre backs who are probably up there with Ben White in all honesty, but they're not getting spoken much about because they play for Crystal Palace. And towards the second half of the season, I think they will get a bit more recognition. Joachim Andersen, fantastic player.
Yeah, he was one of the star performers at Fulham, and to get him over from Lyon is a great bit of business. And again, another young centre back to move in. And look, this guy, or the next two guys I'm going to talk about or bring up on the screen, both extremely, extremely talented players. 2 players I would have loved to see in the black and white. Maybe we will one day. We'll see. But
hopefully not, because I know you're going to be talking about hopefully one at least. Definitely.
But this
one, yeah.
Oh, what a player!
This guy is. He needs to be at Palace next season. I've said it. I will do whatever it takes for Conor Gallagher to stay at Palace.
He needs to be Conor Gallagher.
No. You go and sign your Mbappe. Leave Conor Gallagher to us, yeah? Because this guy is a phenomenal. Look, I've seen Conor Gallagher at West Brom. I've heard about him before West Brom, but I've never seen him perform like this. Honestly, when someone asks me, describe Conor Gallagher, he can defend, he can attack, good on the ball, loves a tackle, can shoot, can dribble. He can do everything. Conor Gallagher, we can talk about Wilfried Zaha as much as we like. But right now, in this Palace side, Conor Gallagher, debatable, but he is our most important player. And that says it all. He joined on loan, and I can't imagine a future without him. I've fallen in love with a lone player. And it's not only me, lots of Palace players have, I think Palace players have as well, but Palace fans have as well. He's just fantastic. And I will pay whatever it takes to sign him because he's just so talented. Literally, Conor Gallagher, hopefully Chelsea go and buy a world-class player and just give him to us.
Yeah. Look, I hope he comes up north. I've got to be honest. I hope we've got him in our shortlist anyway. Because if anyone wants to know what Conor Gallagher is all about, just watch Edouard's goal on Monday night. The way he nicks the ball, like deep into the half. The way he travels with the ball. The way he finds the right pass. The way he still then tries to get into the box to support the other guys on the counter attack. He's just a driver. He just, for such a young lad, he's got so much experience up here for someone that's so young, and he's just an absolute driver. He just drives the team forward time and time and time again. And you know what? He was. You were right. He was the driving force on Monday. He was very, very good. It was an impressive performance. And others got talked about because they got the goals. But to be fair, he is the main man, and he's going to be a big player for you this season if you do fly up the league table. And then we've got this man here.
Ooh, another one. Look, at Palace, Odsonne Edouard joined from Celtic. At Palace, we've needed a striker for a very long time. We tried to bring in Jordan Ayew. We brought in Jordan Ayew. We brought in other types of strikers, but he is the best finisher we've had at the club for a very long time. It was just one of those areas which we never could have literally solved. It was always we're trying to bring in young, cheap signings and hoping for the best. But we went out. He was on our target list for a very long time. Odsonne Edouard is not someone that we just focused on this summer. We even tried it last summer, January as well. But finally, we managed to get him. He came on and made his debut against Tottenham and scored within 20 seconds. And scored another goal in that game. Scored against Arsenal as well. Fantastic finisher and a player that we desperately needed. Now, when we do create the chances, there's competition up there first and foremost with Benteke. And finally, if he does start, I have faith in our striker to score them goals. And that is no disrespect to Benteke. Benteke has a different role, which is a topic for another day. But Odsonne Edouard is the finisher. And yeah, we desperately needed him. And he's finally here.
Definitely. It was an interesting one because he was a player that had a question mark on his name in the summer because he didn't have the best of seasons for Celtic last season. And obviously the season before that, he was hitting the heights and, there was teams all across Europe that were looking at him. That's allowed you guys to sneak in there and take a punt on him. And I'm not sure what price you paid. Do you know how much you paid for him?
I think it was around £15 million, something like that. So it wasn't too much. Actually, I don't want to lie. That figure is just in my head. So hopefully I am not lying. We've bought so many players this summer that it's very hard. Like there's so many things that's going on with the last minute goals, with everything. My head is just spinning all over the place. So I'll check the price whilst we spoke. But it was nothing that high. It was in the low regions. £14 million. So yeah, that was great.
Amazing deal for a player of that quality. And he hasn't even started every game. So when he gets up to speed, I think he'll be
scored 3 goals. Yeah.
Yeah, he's already on point with that. I mean, Callum Wilson's the same. He missed 4 or 5 weeks and he's on 3 goals. So I would have loved to have paired them together. But you know what? He's been impressive for you guys this season. But look, there's an elephant in the room here, and I know we've had a little bit of a brief chat about it. Look, there was a meeting in the Premier League this week, and some words were said. So basically, the rundown of it is that 19 out of the 20 Premier League teams had private discussions, or so we think have had private discussions about putting in or voting in a rule which means you cannot have sponsorships from any businesses that are attached to you as owners of your Premier League club. And it seems to have been fast-tracked through as soon as the Newcastle takeover was completed. So on the back of that, Lee Charnley, as representative of Newcastle, attended the meeting and made some things very clear in terms of he believed and the club believe that it would be anti-competitive for this vote to go ahead and for them to vote it through. So what I'm going to put on the screen now, and apologies if you can't see it, but I'm going to read it out. So basically what it says, when Charnley spoke about us all being liable, it split the room, said one of the Premier League chairmen. Some of the clubs said that they needed to take time to reflect on that. But a lot of the clubs said, no, F this, we're not going to be threatened. Multiple sources indicated that Crystal Palace part owner and chairman Steve Parish was one of the most vociferous and rallied the other clubs to vote against the proposals, especially after being threatened with legal action. He basically said, I don't care about your threats. The chairman present continued. Ultimately, what Parish said carried the room because everyone, bar two clubs, voted in favour. So, look, all I want to know is what the hell is your chairman doing, man?
We're trying to spoil the party. You're not having too much fun up there.
he really is, and we are a little bit annoyed about that. However, look, what I wanted to know about this is firstly, what are your thoughts about that situation and how that come about? And secondly, is that out of character for Steve Parish from what you guys know as fans? Is that his type of behaviour? Is he quite bullish like that? Is he does he stand up to people in that way, or does that seem like that's something a little bit different from him?
So, in terms of the whole story itself, look, when we talk about football clubs, the one thing that they are is that they are businesses. Yeah, we can talk about as fans, we can talk about the game, but at the end of the day, every game brings in money. You look at gate receipts, you look at sponsorships, you look at all of them things. And when you're looking at Newcastle right now becoming one of the richest clubs in the world, when you're talking about 14 years, you start struggling under Mike Ashley and all the drama that's been going on. Newcastle right now are in the relegation zone, but that's going to change in the future. They're not going to be that team down there. They're going to be the team up there. So I don't know what the word is for it. I don't think it's jealousy, but it's just, I think other clubs are nervous because the hierarchy is changing. There's more clubs joining into that typical top six, which is debatable in itself. I think it's now going to be turning into top seven with Newcastle. They're top eight, if you include other clubs there. So there's that in itself. And what Steve Parish is really doing, and I think what impacted him the most is what you mentioned in the article in the last sentence, is that the legal action. I personally think it's unfair. It just seems like it's getting, I'm not saying that because I'm on this channel, I'm just saying it because of what I've seen and what you told me. I feel like they're just changing this as soon as Newcastle owners come in. It seems like there's an agenda there. Like, why do you want to change it right now? And they are threatened by Newcastle's power, the new owners. So by that perspective, I'm sitting with you guys. I think this shouldn't happen, because if it was another owner, if it was another takeover of just a normal person taking over, for example, Wolves, and Wolves just becoming where they are right now and not the richest club in the world, then this wouldn't happen. But they know what Newcastle are going to do. So Newcastle are going to be a stronger business than the likes of Crystal Palace, likes of all the clubs basically in the Premier League because of their wealth and power. So I think it's wrong what's been done. And in terms of Steve Parish himself, what I've noticed over lockdown is that Steve Parish has become the voice of the other clubs. So you have the top six who wanted to do Super League. Then you have Steve Parish and his buddies. During lockdown, on TV, you saw Steve Parish talk to BBC. Or you saw Steve Parish giving out interviews to newspapers about what should happen with football under COVID. So Steve Parish has become that vocal star. So whatever he says, other clubs seem like they listen to him now. And you know, he's not really that type of guy to, well, I don't know him personally. I've actually spoken to him once, and there were times where I was personally frustrated with him and the running of the club. He doesn't seem like that type of guy to be like the bully or the party spoiler, but right now, maybe he just shows even the guys that you think are the nice guys in football, even they're under threat. Steve Parish is a Palace fan. He's not a typical, he's not the billionaire, wealthy football club owner. He's a Palace fan. So he's under threat. He's probably thinking, for Palace, this doesn't help us because it makes the other clubs such as Newcastle have more spending power. They're going to have more sponsorship monies. They're going to be progressing more than Palace. So I feel like he's probably saying this, one, because of the legal threat. He doesn't like that. Yeah, of course, if you threaten someone with legal threat, which I understand why you guys did that, because it's unfair in the first place. And second of all, it's business. And right now, your business is taking over the other clubs. And that's why he made sure that vote happens, so it can be as hard as possible for you guys to progress as a club.
No, that seems fair enough, and that's why I wanted to ask the question, because obviously, you know, it's I wanted to see more so than anything whether it was out of character, whether it was his type of behaviour. But I can see where you're coming from in terms of having, you know, the massive impact that it could have on a team like Palace. And look, it's not guaranteed. I think there is another coming together at the end of this month where they'll go from there, or at some point in November. And
shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
this whole thing shouldn't have happened in the first place. You're talking about Man City, for example. They got similar sponsors, sponsor deals, and all of that. So why is it now that it's happened with Newcastle? It just feels like in this country right now, of course, there are some reasons. There's some ethical reasons that we can have a healthy debate about whether these Saudi owners are the greatest thing for Newcastle. But at the end of the day, you have no control. No one in this chat has any control over what they do. You love your club. You love your football club. And these people are coming in here to save you guys from Mike Ashley misery. But I feel like what's happened is all the other fans, and not all the other fans, but other clubs, the media, everyone wants to go against it because they're so ethical right now. Everyone's turning to ethical. Everyone's turning to this next prince. Half of these people that are talking about it, like, come on, like, Saudi Arabia's been involved in this country for a long time. But when it comes to Newcastle, it's a problem. I'm not having none of it. Like, I'm a Palace fan and I can say it. You can't just pick and choose sides. And that's what I don't like about it. People are just getting onto Newcastle, or the owner's great, or the owner's this and that. Oh, come on, man. We have to look at this country as well, at the other countries as well. No one is great. Everyone has mistakes. And this country has been doing business, without all getting political, this country's been doing business with Saudi Arabia. But no one's really said anything about that. But as soon as they come and get involved with Newcastle, it's the biggest thing in the world. It's the biggest worry in the world. Come on, man. They're picking on you guys, and it's unfair.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Truls agrees with you. You said with the rule change, the smaller clubs will be the ones that will suffer long term. That's a fair point as well. But the point that you made, Dee, is a really good one, in that, you know, other clubs do use their own extended businesses as part of their sponsorships. We know Man City do it and get multi millions of pounds additionally into the club per year off those type of deals. Funnily enough, Everton, who were one of the biggest aggressors with regards to trying to get this vote through, because they're the ones that are most annoyed about the fact that we've been taken over. They in fact do it themselves. So they have changed the name of their training ground and put in 3 letters, and then given themselves £12 million additional money a year. On top of that, they're already taking money in from their new Premier League ground that's not even been built yet. They're already taking money in from sponsorships from a ground that's not even been built. So they're already benefiting from this already, but they're so desperate for Newcastle United to not be in a position where we're able to benefit from this and have partnerships with businesses within their own companies, and it is not fair. You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
And you know what? No one's going to be talking about Everton. No one's going to be talking about them having similar. It's just the focus is going to be on Steve Parish and what's going. But at the end of the day, it's been happening. So just because someone else has come in with a load of money and he wants to change the club, and not only change the club, yes, you said it on our preview show as well, Pete, on how they don't want to come second. They want to always come first, the Saudis. And I understand that, but they're going to put investments into the training facilities, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the stadium as well, which I saw about. They're going to be helping the local community at Newcastle. It's not like the Saudis are coming there just to play with their own money. They're investing into the community, investing into a club that's been literally just been there struggling for 14 years, been doing nothing. It's been yo-yo, going to championship, can come back up, don't do really much in the Premier League for a very long time. And they just want to change that. But now everyone wants to act all ethical and say that Newcastle are the biggest problem in this country. No. Let's look at ourselves. Let's look at ourselves as a country. Let's look at other football clubs. And then afterwards, we can talk about Newcastle, because right now it is massively biased. And as you can hear it from my tone and from my face, it annoys me to bits, even though I'm not a Newcastle fan.
No, well, I tell you what, in the chat you're going to have a lot of guys in there, a lot of guys and girls in there that are going to be adding you to the supporters list. They'll be 100% agreement with you, and it's, you know what, it's really nice to have an opposition fan who kind of sees it from our point of view as well, and not just from other teams' points of view. So I respect your opinions on that 100%, mate. 100%. I've got some other questions on here for you before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game on Saturday. So it says, D, who is Palace's biggest rivals, and is there hatred between the two? Interesting.
Rivals. Right now, you say Brighton. But I just find Brighton a pathetic club, in all honesty. You look at their fan base, you see lots of them support Arsenal and Brighton, Chelsea and Brighton. Like, you go on social media and in the bios, they'll have Chelsea fan, Brighton fan. So I just don't want to even associate my football club with that football club when half their fans are basically plastic. So Brighton is our main rivals because they're in the Premier League. But if you're looking at it, Millwall, we haven't faced them for a long time. They're pretty small in comparison to Palace. They're probably our fiercest. That'll be our fiercest rivals. And you got Charlton, who just absolutely hate us to bits. No matter what happens, they probably hate us, then we hate them. So yeah, there's that three clubs out there that are our main rivals. And I think it's just annoying. It's Brighton. Unfortunately, it's Brighton. They're forcing this rival. They literally changed their football club. They used to be called the Dolphins, and they changed the Seagulls just to match with the Eagles. And it just shows how pathetic they are. So, yeah, it's just Brighton for us, unfortunately.
Okay. So there was a lot of feeling in that conversation there about Brighton. So I can see that there's an element of hatred in there for how they portray themselves. Just an additional question from Geordie Toon for Live. He put, D, is it true that Simon Jordan Now that laugh from you says that you know what you see of him on TalkSport. But what are your opinions on Simon Jordan? Just really quickly.
I liked him when he first went on TalkSport because I like when people just speak from their heart and don't go with the usual things. Like, don't go with what everyone else is saying. And Simon Jordan was doing that at first. But there's times where I listen to him even now, and some Palace fans listen to him, and it's just like, are you really doing this because you think that, like, sometimes he acts a bit salty, which I don't like, especially Newcastle thing. To be fair, he did admit it that he got it wrong at the end. But he was our owner of a football club. He's very upset about Steve Parish. He doesn't like Steve Parish. So if you put Samuel Jordan on here, he'll say the same things. He hates Steve Parish because Steve Parish and co basically took the club from his hands due to us being in administration, and Steve Parish saved us. So he doesn't like Steve Parish as well. But Simon Jordan, you can't take him too seriously in life. If you do, then you're not gonna be happy. So yeah, he will keep talking about Newcastle, but maybe he might change his tone now. But I'm not too sure, really.
No, I don't think he'll change his tone. I think he's already been quite vocal again about Newcastle fans and all this situation with Bruce and all the rest of that.
He's like, when he's wrong, he doesn't like it. And like, I've seen him trying to pick on certain people. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was one thing, I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I think it's something to do with Derby and about the owners and all the things that's going on there. And it's like, he was saying to Wayne Rooney, basically Wayne Rooney should be criticized. And I was like, what? Because what are you talking about? And from that point onwards, it was like, I think he has an agenda towards certain type of owners. He has his own views. So you're either going to like Simon Jordan or you're going to just dislike everything that he says. He's that type of guy. But yeah, Simon Jordan, I don't think he's been to a Palace game for a very long time, and I don't think he will do as well. So
no, I think that says a lot as well. The fact that he's not even come back to the club. ADB asks, can we have Vieira?
You're not getting too carried away. Conor Gallagher, Vieira, what's going on here? I know you got all the money, but geez, like, maybe Steve Parish ain't wrong what he's doing. You want everyone. You want everyone. Let us at least live. No, you can't have Vieira. I'm sorry. You can go and get Frank Lampard, Eddie Howe. Go get them lot. Just leave Vieira to us. I love Vieira to bits. And you know what? In all jokes aside, I like what Vieira's saying as well. Someone asked him about, I think, potentially the Arsenal job and what he thinks about it. And he said that and I believe him as well. You can see his reactions after games and during the touchline. He's invested into the club. And I think he's going to grow with us as well. So no, you can't have Vieira. He's going to be at Palace and hopefully become a Palace legend.
You've heard it first.
Yeah.
Vieira is off the list. But it's not stopped people in the chat asking for players from Palace. So our boy Seb, he put, I live in Croydon. My bro supports Palace. We'll give you Ryan Fraser and money for Eze. Would you be willing to negotiate?
Jeez, man, what is going on here? This is like a setup. You just want every like Palace players. Like who are we gonna get? Dwight Gale for like Ryan Fraser and Eze? what a trade that is. No, look, in this game, talking about this, Eze, he won't be featuring in this game. Highly unlikely. He's coming off an Achilles injury, but it's another thing as well. This season, we've had some solid performances, but we've had them performances without Eze, and he's still going into the side. And when he's in the side, we are going to be a much better side. And also, down the right-hand side, Jordan Ayew has started, which there's a debate between Palace fans whether he should be starting or he shouldn't be. But personally, I think Olise, who hasn't been starting, if he comes into the side, we're going to get even much more better. So this Palace side that we've seen so far this season, I know I'm overhyping us and all that, but I don't think we've yet seen the peak. Of course, I feel like we might see it around 15 game onwards. Right now, Vieira is trying to do a couple of things. He's trying to figure out the best side, trying to figure out how to hold the lead, which is the most important thing at this current moment of time. But this Palace side hasn't seen its best squad yet. And I feel like the best is yet to come, which is kind of scary because I thought we've been playing great already.
Yeah, definitely. So you're just adding even more talent to that list. I mean, I like Ryan Fraser. I think Ryan Fraser is going to come good for us this season under a new manager. So I wouldn't.
He was linked with us before.
He was definitely. It looked like it was going to be quite close as well between both of our clubs. But I think he'll come good. But some good news all round. Geordie Tune for Life says the Spurs are losing after 78 minutes. In fact, they have lost to Vitesse.
They've lost.
They've lost 1-0 in the Europa League away from home. It just gets better and better.
How did you guys not beat them?
It's mad. It's crazy how we didn't put up more of a fight, but it's Bruce. So
it's gone now, anyways.
Definitely. Okay, right. We'll leave the other chats there because we already know who your least favorite team is. Right. What I want to get down to is the nitty gritty about Saturday. So, first of all, I want you to talk to me about the players that you think are going to be the danger men for Palace against Newcastle, and then I want you to tell me who do you think are going to be the ones that are going to cause you the most problems on Saturday.
Look, last season, I would have said it would have been boring because every season we've been saying this. Wilfried Zaha. Every preview show I'm going to is talking about Wilfried Zaha. But this season, in this game, Wilfried Zaha, of course, he's a threat. But I will be foolish to not mention Conor Gallagher. I think he is one of the biggest threats. And James Macarthur as well. But if them in midfield this season have been extremely solid, they have got stamina for days. They can run up and down. And I feel like Gallagher, as we saw it in the Arsenal game with the second goal, he will press teams. He will put in a challenge. He will tackle. He will make that pass. And if it comes to it, he will actually take the shot as well. So he can do a bit of everything. So in this game, Newcastle, forget about Wilfried Zaha. You need to make sure you stop Conor Gallagher as well. Because if you give him time on the ball, he will create chances and it could be a very long day for you. And of course, the second player that I want to mention is James Macarthur. He is like the backbone of this team. He's about 33, 34 now. I think actually he might be 32. I'm not too sure. He's in his 30s, not early 30s. He's like 32 to 34. And he pretty much plays every single game. And in midfield, he he's like Conor Gallagher, the older version, in terms of he will be pressing you, and he is good on the ball. He's good at tackling. He's good going forward. He's got all energy. He won't stop. Like James Macarthur, ever since he's joined the club, this guy does not stop running. Like that is his ethos. He will continuously run. It's not running for the sake of it. It's not like Cameron drawing on the pitch. He's actually got talent, and he can cause problem for you guys as well. But of course, another player, Wilfried Zaha, I don't think I have to speak much about him. He wasn't at the Arsenal game, so he had a bit of illness. So he might be a bit rested for this game, which I don't know if it will be a worry for you guys, but he might be a bit more rested than he would be if he played at the Arsenal game. But this season, the pressure's off him. And in honesty, before people were talking about Wilfried Zaha, he wants to leave the club, but he's not playing like it anymore. He seemed like he's bought into Vieira's plans. He enjoys playing under Vieira. You look at all the training videos, he always jokes around with Vieira. It's all smiles, and he's enjoying his football. And on Saturday, he wants to come and prove himself once again. And he's been on score sheet a couple times this season, so Wilfried Zaha is going to be up for it as well. And talking about your side of things, I'll be just incredibly dumb to not mention Alan Saint-Maximin. Like of course, you got Callum Wilson up top as well. You got some other players, but the main focus for Palace is how do you stop him? How do you stop him? Can you stop him? It's not about can you stop this guy? What is his weaknesses? I'm not too sure, because when he's on the ball, when he's running, you can't get close to him. You literally can't, and he causes all types of trouble. So I wonder what Vieira is going to do. Is he going to put one of James Macarthur and Conor Gallagher on him all match so that they can track his runs and make sure that he doesn't get on the ball? I think that might be a sensible approach to put a player on Alan Saint-Maximin to try and stop him even getting into the stride, because once he's in that stride, he's literally unstoppable. Or how else do you stop him? Because I'm not too sure.
It's a great point, and for me, a lot of fans want to see Alan Saint-Maximin on the left, but I have concerns about him playing on the left, because I think he's easily stopped when he plays on the left, because he does have that tendency to keep coming in and cutting inside onto his right hand side. Yeah. If you double up on him, it's easy to kind of stop him playing. If he's playing through the middle or on the right-hand side, I think he's much more of a trickier player to deal with, because he can go either way and he will just keep you guessing all the time, as is proven a few of the goals that he's been a part of down that right-hand side when he's been playing through the middle. Effectively, as a striker, he's been playing through the middle whilst Callum Wilson's been injured. But actually, although he's not a striker, what he's done is stretch defenders all over the place. They don't know whether to go with him, whether to mark him, whether to stay in position. He's just pulling them left, right, and centre, and they don't know what to do. So it'll be interesting to see how Graham Jones kind of sets Alan Saint-Maximin up to get the best out of him on Saturday. So that'd be interesting. But who else in there that do you rate and that you think could be a genuine threat to the team, to your team?
Callum Wilson, I've seen him before in his Bournemouth days. Saw it against Tottenham as well. He scored a goal straight away, and he's one of those players where, as I talked about our back line, they're very good, they're very solid. Mark Guay and Joachim Andersen. But the only downside is that they've got mistakes in them so far this season, and it's not because of literally their faults. It's just building up chemistry. You're just getting used to each other, and sometimes you might carry the ball a bit too much, etc. So ideally, Callum Wilson, you don't want to give him any opportunities. If you give him any opportunities, then he's gonna absolutely finish the chances and just absolutely destroy you. So I'm worried about him, and hopefully we do. If we have no individual mistakes, I feel like we'll be able to handle him.
Definitely. Anyone else?
I don't want to sound all cocky, but I haven't really seen Newcastle under Steve Bruce so far this season, apart from seeing here and there. And from the games that I've seen so far this season, I haven't really got someone else who stands out for me as much as them two players that I mentioned. What's interesting is, though, Ryan Fraser at left back. What's that about?
In fact, it's actually Matt Ritchie that plays left back. Matt Ritchie plays.
It's Matt Ritchie. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, not Ryan Fraser. It's Matt Ritchie that I saw. What's that? What's that about? Is it something new? Because as I said, I haven't watched you guys every single game.
Being honest, he played sort of left wing back last season, but just recently we've changed to a back four, and so he's been playing left back. Now we have a left back in Jamal Lewis who hasn't really been given an opportunity, but I believe will turn into a talented player with games and with opportunity. But Matt Ritchie was brought at the club as a right winger, then transitioned to the left wing, and now is playing left wing back and now left back. So he's kind of like found himself moving further and further back into the team. But look, he's not a left back. He's not defensively minded. His positional play is not great, and that's certainly where, if he does start on Saturday, and I think that may be where one or two things might change. That's an area that you guys could exploit. But it is a strange decision. For me, it's another Bruce decision. It's the reason why. Another reason of many of why he's been sacked. It's just a strange decision. When you've got a left back there that's ready and fit and ready to play, had a good preseason or had a preseason under his belt, is ready to go, and then he doesn't play at all. Really, really weird one. But for me, I'm really looking now for one particular player from Newcastle to really step up, and it's this man here.
Joe. Oh yeah, sorry, I slept on him. Yeah, I literally, it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
No, don't worry. For me, we haven't seen the best of Joe Willock this season. It wasn't all his fault. He only had 48 minutes of pre-season at Arsenal because they weren't playing him, because there was the won't he leave throughout the summer window, kind of just building up his fitness. In the last few games, he's looked like he's getting back to fitness, but we haven't seen the quality on the ball, and certainly we haven't seen the goals that he was scoring at the back end of last season. So I think it's time for him to step up. I think we need a performance from him, and we certainly need a goal. So, I'm going to say that his late runs into the box, his ability to stretch the midfielders and defenders with his ability to drive with the ball forward could be a thorn in your side on Saturday. But you guys, in terms of Palace, you've got some talented players. Already talked about one or two of the other in the team. But the interesting one for me is the resurgence of Christian Benteke. Because his contract was out in the summer, and under Mike Ashley, I at one point I think I was like, "Oof, he'd be a better backup striker than Dwight Gale or even Andy Carroll. I wouldn't mind taking him." But you signed him onto a new contract. He's had long periods for you where he's not been scoring goals at all. He's had a proper dry spell. But actually, this season, he looks like he's coming to fruition a little bit again, and it seems like Vieira's got him playing. Like, what has it been? What's your observations of Christian Benteke?
So for Benteke, I'll say this: that for about 2 years now, he's been decent for Palace, but it's going to sound weird, but he hasn't been scoring goals. So his role has technically changed. He's been that target man, which has been so crucial, because he will head the ball onto Wilfried Zaha, let's say if teams are pressing us, or head it over to Andros Townsend or whoever he was playing back then, or even right now to Jordan Ayew. And they will go and do the job. So he's been crucial in ways that you might not be able to see in stats unless you really watch him. But what's happened with Benteke is that under Patrick Vieira, and this is how important a manager is, under Patrick Vieira, we talked about other players as well, such as Wilfried Zaha enjoying their football. Wilf scored 10 goals last season. So he did score goals under Roy Hodgson, but I don't know how he scored 10 goals, because the type of football that we were playing was so negative. It was like he managed to do that out of nothing. And another player is Christian Benteke. Benteke is doing all the things that he was doing 2 years ago, but on Monday night, the goal that he scored, some people might say, it was a nice finish, that's it. But for Palace fans, that was massive due to the fact that it shows the confidence that he's got now. Before, he would have took an extra touch, or it would have flew over it would have been a throw-in from that situation, which is impossible, but it could have happened. But now Benteke, what Vieira has done to Benteke is that he said, go out there and do your thing. Like, you are the man. He gave him a bit of faith. Before, Benteke was, when Roy Hodgson was talking about Benteke, he was talking about Benteke as a defensive striker.
Yeah.
What is a defensive striker? And like, it's times that I've barely heard, like, Benteke used to be defending in our own half. But what Vieira's done is that, Benteke, you scored more goals than the likes of Luis Suarez in the Premier League, as crazy as it might sound, or Heung-min Son. So you've got it in you. Yes, it was ages ago, but you've still got something in you. And what Vieira's done is go out there and unlock it. He's given that freedom. He's given that, that praise and that confidence. And now Benteke in front of goal, he's doing all the other things, but he's actually a threat, which we haven't said for a very long time. So I feel like in this game, if Benteke does start, with the aerial duels, yes, we know how Benteke is, but in front of goal, if you give an opportunity, he might score now, which in previous years, that wasn't the case.
No, it's a great point. It's that just being that license and giving the confidence to go on and sort of express himself. And look, I hope he doesn't do it on Saturday, but it's nice to see a manager come in and really turn a play around and get them playing. Rich Story says in the chat, it's even worse, Pete. Spurs lost in the Europa Conference. I forgot. I thought it was the actual Europa League. But
it's conference.
Which is even worse. So they're losing games in the Europa Conference, and they're supposedly part of the Big Six.
Allegedly.
Jordy Tune for Life says Macarthur was definitely a red card.
Oh, we have to talk about this. Apparently, Arsenal went to the Premier League Referees Association to talk about it. They're very upset about it. In all honesty, if it happened to one of us, I would be as well. I was at the ground on Monday night, and it was all the way on the other end. It did look like a foul, but I didn't get to see it until I watched on the replay how bad it was. And as a Palace fan here, I have to admit, it could have easily been a red card. If VAR looked at it, if Mike Dean actually had two eyes that work, that he was actually looking at the game, which I don't understand. If you're looking at that has to be a red, because he didn't win the ball by any means. And the only explanation is that maybe he was trying to volley the ball and then hit. But look, it was dangerous. It should have been a red card. We got away with it. But on the other hand, there's been times where we faced Arsenal and literally we're on a one-on-one and Guendouzi has rugby tackled Wilfried Zaha and nothing's happened to him. So you know what they say. It's pretty much karma. But thankfully we got Macarthur there. And we're lucky. But he's going to be playing in this game, which is going to be massive for us.
Jordan 2 for Life seems to think that it was more GBH than it was a foul.
I can't sit here as a Palace fan to go and back it, because as I said, the only explanation is maybe if you're trying to volley it, but even that, like, the ball he's literally behind Saka. But the thing is, Macarthur's not that type of guy. Like, he's been at the club for years now. He's a club legend. And we know how he is. And he's not the type of guy to go out there and do dirty challenges. And like, even as you guys listening to this and watching this, like, you don't really hear about James Macarthur being a dirty player. Like, you hear about other players, but James Macarthur is not on that list. That's why, as Palace fans, and that's why maybe Mike Dean, he might have thought, well, James Macarthur's not that type of player. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And then they just put it to side. So hopefully that was the case, and hopefully that remains the case with James Macarthur, because after that what happened on Monday night and everyone talking about it, I feel like whatever he does now, all the referees and VAR is going to be on his case, because he did get away with it, but he didn't mean it on purpose, and I doubt something similar happens against you guys.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Yano's put on there, beware of J7. Big Joe Linton. Look, Yano, I've got to be honest. I'm hoping that under this Graham Jones short era of caretaker manager, that Joe Linton's not even in the team. So hopefully we don't see J7 at all. Miggy will run at Palace on Saturday. That's true. It's a great point. Miggy didn't play on Sunday because of all the international issues with the travel and blah, blah, blah. But he's been training all week. He is a runner. He's a pest. He likes to press high. He could be a player that could affect the team. Longstaff, left back on Saturday, left back at Newcastle. It's a great point. Jay Levens, I still say smash the cash and get Luis Campos as director of football and Jose Mourinho as manager. This would frighten them all here and in Europe. I can't not agree with that. Luis Campos is a fantastic fantastic sporting director of football. He's done wonders with both Monaco and Lille. It would be terrific if we could get him in, and he looks like one of the front runners at the moment. And he's currently not attached to a club, which is even more positive. Now that Shelby this week, and then Richie says, thankfully Shelby's in the best place possible on Saturday, his house, playing with his kids because he's suspended. He's got a stupid red card on Saturday, so probably best that you don't play. Other comments on here. Let's have a look. What's Jones' lineup going to be on Saturday? Oof. Look, I've said before. I think it'd be crazy if Dubravka's back in training, which is that he doesn't start. He's just a significantly better goalkeeper. I would have Lewis left back. I would have Fernandez and Shaw at the back. With Manquillo right back. He's been in terrific form recently, Manquillo. In midfield, I would go Hayden, Longstaff, and Willock. I would have Fraser on the right. I would have ASM on the left. And I would have Callum Wilson up top, which would mean you've got the likes of Almiron coming off the bench and Joe Linton, if we choose to do that, and one or two others. So that's my team, Adam. That's the team that I think is the best setup to potentially win the game, sort of like a 4-3-3. And we just go at them hell for leather. In my opinion, if you wanted to switch it around even more, you could maybe drop Longstaff and play Almiron, or drop Hayden and play Almiron, and have Almiron and Willett running at them with Hayden just sitting in. You could work it out however you want, but that would be roughly my team that I would go with on Saturday. Fraser left, ASM right. I like it, and I would definitely go with that. Right, getting towards the end now. What I want before we end the show, prediction time. So D, who do you or what do you think the scoreline is going to be come 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon?
You know what? The whole dynamics of the game has changed now that Steve Bruce is gone. If Steve Bruce was there, I was just confident. I was like, yeah, this is a game where we have to go and win. That's the type of mentality that I had. Because with all due respect, you guys were struggling under him, and you're still in the relegation zone without a win. And I don't think Steve Bruce would have got a result against Patrick Vieira, considering the type of football that we play. But now that he's not there, and you look at some of the names that you mentioned, if Graham Jones he gets the best out of these players, which I think he will do, you got a squad there. You got a squad and a half. Your front three is dangerous. You're talking about Ryan Fraser on his day. He's lethal. Alan St. Maximin, which we talked about earlier on. Callum Wilson, even Joe Willock if he turns up as well. So I think it's going to be a difficult game. But so far this season, we haven't lost at home. And we won our only game against Tottenham at home as well. And we're only one of the few clubs in the UK to have that stat. I know it's early in the season, but we've been decent at home. And so that for that reason, I still think Palace should go and try and beat Newcastle. It might be a bit too early. I know your caretaker manager knows the club well and knows the players well. He's been there under Steve Bruce. But I feel like with Zaha coming back, realistically for Palace, because of the disappointing results that we've had 2 out of the last 3 games where we should have won, we should be aiming for a win. It's not going to be easy. I think under Steve Bruce would have been much easier. It's not going to be easy at all. But I feel like Palace edges it 2-1 for me at home, hopefully anyways.
Okay, interesting. Look, I know on your show earlier, I think I said either a 1-1 or a 2-2. But look, we're on away days, and I'm going to stay positive as a Newcastle fan. I believe that Graham Jones, in hopefully his only game in charge of the club, he's going to get a win. So I'm going to go. I've convinced myself now. I'm talking myself into this. I'm going to go. We're going to win 2-1. I think it'll be a tight game. There will be goals for either team, in my opinion. I just think there will. But I'm going to go Newcastle to win 2-1. But look, I think both teams. I think, in my opinion, will end up safe this season. I think we'll be in good positions. I think we'll both have okay seasons to look back at, and be able to be in a position to build. So look, with that, a massive thank you to you, Dee. Really appreciate it for you taking the time to come onto the show. It was amazing to share the show with you on your show earlier on. Best of luck for the season after Saturday. And without doubt, when we have the return fixture, we'll catch up again and talk, and hopefully we're both in much better positions with a few more W's on our records.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to everyone for sending in your messages as well. It's enjoyable because, you know, both clubs are on a high. We've both started a little process. So, of course, you got way more money than us. But we're both trying to do something as our football clubs. And finally, after a long time, it's a massive relief. We're both looking forward to it. Hopefully, you guys will stay up. And yeah, I'll happily come on a return fixture.
Brilliant, absolutely spot on. But just before I go, in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you got Bruce in, the only Bruce we want in the club from Centre Ale. Get your beers, get your ales from Bruce, just outside the train station in Newcastle city centre. And as always, we do love playing away. I'm going to shoot now because I'm going to be speaking to the fans of Newcastle in Saudi Arabia and joining our lead show. So if you're not watching our lead show, switch over now. I'll be joining the rest of the Loaded Boys to watch that. You guys take care. Have a good week.